Well, it's 2020, and we at the Pacific Justice Institute see some exciting challenges moving forward, but also some great opportunities. And we're going to talk to you in the second half of the show about why we are optimistic moving forward. But the first half of the program, though, I want us to focus on a particular case that I know has been of concern for so many people, and that's dealing with our Border Patrol case. And to talk with us about this case, we have with us here in the studio Michael Peffer, who's the attorney and head of our Southern California office. Thank you, Michael, for joining us.
My pleasure, Brad. Thank you.
Now, Michael, this case is a very important case. It could go all the way to the Supreme Court. It's a major case law precedent, depending on how things play out. But we filed a major lawsuit against a Border Patrol agency on behalf of women and their rights not to have to be, well, visually violated, as a condition for their employment. Tell us about this case. Give the people a background who may not be familiar with it.
Right, Brad. And this is it's so crazy sometimes the way we've had to start to think differently than we ever have, really, in many, many, many years, maybe forever. In this case, we have a locker room. All officers, male or female, are required to have a locker where they keep their belongings. They change before shift and after shift. And it's a safety thing for them. It's a privacy issue for them. It's also something that it allows them to be a part of the group, an equal part of the group with the male counterparts.
Right. So there's two separate locker rooms.
That's right.
One for men, one for women, showers separate. Sounds good.
That's right.
But something happened that challenged what is reasonable and rational. What happened?
Well, a male officer decided that he was a female, and then he began to insist that he gets equal facilities, which for him, that meant a male who hasn't had surgery and going into the locker room with the female.
So it's a biological man.
That's right.
Every single cell in his body is unanimous as to what his gender is.
That's correct.
There's no debate in his biology. It's real clear.
That's right.
And I'm going to take it for granted. Let's assume he has real dysphoria, gender identity dysphoria, which is a real mental condition. People who see themselves as a different gender than reality and what they are. And our society seems to want to go ahead and let them do that, and by their own right. But what we're talking about here is someone who wants to exert that dysphoria on others by forcing themselves to be allowed to enter into a female locker room. And as I understand it, he wasn't exactly welcomed with open arms by the women there who wanted to be able to change, shower, and not be looked upon by someone who was of the opposite biological sex.
That's correct, Brad. And interestingly here, PGI has taken the position of compassion towards gender dysphoria.
Yes.
But compassion does not mean that we trample on the rights of women to have a private facility to change their clothes, take a shower, do the things that we all do in locker rooms where we all anticipate privacy. But instead, we have a male in there in the women's locker room. He's demanding that, look, he gets to have equal facilities. He doesn't have to cover up. He doesn't have to do anything differently. And, too bad if you all don't like it.
Yeah, and I think people need to also realize, in fact, I wasn't aware of this initially, but people who have gender identity dysphoria, say a man who sees himself actually as a female, the overwhelming majority are still sexually turned on, still sexually attracted to women. That's really significant when we're talking here about the depth and breadth of the violation of privacy that these women are being told that they have to experience. So take us through what happened. I understand that the women there decided to speak up. They protested this, and it seemed to fall on deaf ears. Right?
That's right. They protested. They had asked, why can't there be a separate facility? And indeed, there was a separate facility before he was allowed to go into the female locker room.
Wow. So they already accommodated this person, this man, to be able to have his own separate place.
Yes.
And that wasn't good enough.
That's right.
Okay.
And,
all right.
And I'll grant you, the law is very confusing in this area right now. So I understand where the agency was a little bit, confused as to what to do, but they did not act with confusion. They acted with certainty that this is the way it was going to be, and too bad if you don't like it.
Right. Now
that was their attitude.
Yeah. No, we were contacted, Pacific Justice Institute, and we didn't just sit around on this one. We moved on it very quickly. What did we do, and how did they respond?
Well, we went through the entire administrative remedy that we have to do, which is basically filing a complaint, not a lawsuit, a complaint with the agency. We went through their entire program. And that took a long time. That took close to a year to get to the end of that. And once we were to the end of that, they basically said, well, you don't have enough to go on, so we're just going to dismiss this case. And so we were, again, still, there had been changes in personnel there. And so I think this kind of got lost in the woods. But the bottom line is our client was still having to change in her vehicle, was unable to feel good to go and change in the locker room because she could not be assured she would have a private environment.
Right. She could be visually violated in it any day while she's changing. So she's changing in the parking lot in her car, in her truck. She's has to, I think that's outrageous. No one, as a condition of employment in the United States of America, to work for the federal government, should ever have to, as a condition, to be willing to be visually violated by the opposite biological sex, much less have to dress in the parking lot, looking to their left and right, hoping no one's staring at them while they're taking their clothes and changing. So this is outrageous. So we went through the administrative process to no avail. They didn't change their ways. We didn't stop there, did we, Michael?
No,
what happened next?
Yeah, what we did is we filed a lawsuit in federal court, and we're in the infancy of that right now. So we're just beginning that, and we will see what happens. But what we want the people that come to us to know is that we don't just drop cases because they become difficult.
Right.
Because this case has been difficult, but that's not our point. We give our services away for free. We allow people, because of the generosity of our donors, the people that support us, we're able to go and represent this person zealously before the administrative panels,
right,
as well as before the court. And that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I want people out there to realize that, they may have something that comes up and they may say, well, this isn't a high-profile case. This isn't a big game case. That shouldn't stop them from contacting us at Pacific Justice, because one thing that makes us unique, Michael, and I love this about our ministry, is the fact that we work hard to make sure that everyone gets help, that no one is left on the side of the road. And folks, if you're out there watching this program and you're thinking you've got something and you have doubts, contact us, call us. We do our work completely without charge. We pick up all the costs, all the expenses. We're willing to take these cases as far and as long as we need to, up to the Supreme Court if necessary, to make sure that you get the help that you need. And when it comes to these and other kinds of cases dealing with religious freedom, parental rights over their children against the government, the sanctity of human life, and this whole realm. So we're very broad. We're very thorough. We make sure everyone gets help. And we have a great accountability and in terms of transparency and efficiency. In fact, Michael, I encourage people all the time to go to Charity Navigators. I think it's charitynavigators.com.
Yes.
And to take a look at the different charities they're supporting. Take a look at Pacific Justice. What they'll find is we have, I think, the highest rating of any comparable organization out there doing this work in terms of efficiency, transparency, integrity. Very, very important. And we're also a member of the ECFA. I know of there's other organizations out there that they're not members of ECFA for reasons I don't need to get into. But it's important for people to understand that we're here to help them, we're here to serve them, and we have a high level of accountability and transparency that they can count on, both in terms of people seeking assistance as well as those who are team supporters and a part of our team, because that's where we get our support. It's from moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas out there really wanting to make a difference. Yeah. And I just want to also encourage people, to pray for us in our cases. We have a legal insider that we give out. I encourage people to go to our website, pji.org, pji.org, to sign up to get that legal insider so they can pray for this and other cases that we're dealing with. It takes a lot of courage, doesn't it? I mean, for people to step up and say, yeah, I want to stand up to this. It's not easy. This woman we're representing, she's going through a lot already. She needs prayer. She needs prayer support. And one great way of doing that is for people to be aware what's going on and to sign up to get our Legal Insider, our once-a-week email that updates people. And we need more and more prayer warriors all the time.
Yeah, and I think really importantly, and I know all the other attorneys at PGI feel this way, give us a call. If we can help you, we will help you full on. We'll take the full approach to do that. If we can't, hey, we'll pray with you. We'll figure out, we'll strategize. Maybe we can offer you some suggestions. But the clock is not running when you call our office. We're here to help. We do this as a ministry unto the Lord. And most people that contact us are very happy they did, one way or the other, whether we can help them or whether we can't help them, one way or the other, they're glad they called.
Yes, I agree. And that's what we are about at Pacific Justice. All right, well, Michael, I appreciate you and our discussion on this. In the second half, we're going to talk about where America's heading in 2020 and why we at Pacific Justice Institute are very optimistic. Stay tuned.
Given the choice of obeying God or the government, I believe Christians will obey God, even if there is hell to pay.
Since the earliest days of our nation, America has stood for religious freedom. And after our independence was won, the crafters of America's Constitution enshrined religious liberty as the first of our American freedoms.
These are our blood-bought freedoms that we get to own and operate and defend in this nation as Americans. We're not going to surrender this. We are going to fight for what's right.
So I think it's imperative for our testimony
to
show we really do love, we really do care, we see what's going to happen.
Bloody violence breaking out after Antifa protesters storm a Patriot prayer rally.
Do you think religious institutions like colleges, churches, charities, should they lose their tax-exempt status if they oppose same-sex marriage?
Yes.
Parents across the state are keeping their kids home from school today. They say the new sex ed program is too inappropriate, adding the curriculum sexualizes children as young as kindergarten age.
I realize my child and every child is not safe in these public schools.
A lot of graphic information that was confusing.
Tells the little boys it's perfectly normal to masturbate.
Choose their gender. That's our children. And we have parent groups fighting this. We were raided.
Approximately 16 California Highway Patrol officers armed with 2 canine units.
The real bottom line motivation for this, we've discovered, is the fact that the Department of Social Services and those who are behind this raid were actually wanting to shut this school down because they knew it was teaching from a Christian biblical worldview.
I was stripped of chaplaincy, of being a volunteer, of being able to teach the Bible study.
So what had Artis done that was so egregious? She had had a conversation with another resident of the home about the afterlife.
I was at school one day and they were talking about sex education and how it was okay to have sex with the same marriage. And I then stood up and I said, no, that is not okay. And then I got kicked out of class.
And we were able to draft a legal letter memo and sent it off to the principal.
So now if I talk about God at school, I don't get in trouble.
The Supreme Court has ruled the Peace Cross can stay right where it is on public land.
The court said that, if they were to remove street signs and crosses like this, war memorials, just because of the fact that some see it in a religious context, that would actually violate the Establishment Clause by being state hostility to religion.
As soon as we started the church, the neighbors looked at you a little funny, and all of a sudden we find ourselves embroiled in a lawsuit.
An atheist threatened
to sue our HOA because we use the Sunday morning facility.
In the settlement, we got it squared away that we could meet on Sunday mornings, that we would not be discriminated against.
The administration escorted me off campus with 2 police officers.
And the arbitrator overruled the school and said, nope, this is not worthy of termination.
And I was granted my job back. So I'm very grateful to PJI. They really stand for justice.
Drag Queen Story Hour drew hundreds of people to the South Hill Library. The man who was arrested is a local pastor who wanted to preach at Saturday's protest.
So you're going to arrest me for standing on a public parking lot?
Now, he didn't threaten anyone, had no weapons, wasn't screaming in people's faces.
We just wanted to be a voice, you know, for God, and just to be a light and a salt for those children.
The Pacific Justice Institute is absolutely doing great work.
This organization is a fighting organization. You help it, you're the same as the fighter.
I am so grateful to Pacific Justice Institute. Please support them. They are worth every penny.
It didn't cost us anything.
We would have drowned in legal fees. We would have been no more instantly.
I'm super grateful for PJI. They were a godsend.
Pacific Justice Institute as an organization is wholly committed, fully committed to doing the right thing, to being something good.
And folks, if you'd like to become a part of the team of the Pacific Justice Institute, go to our website, and there you can support our work. It's pji.org, pji.org. You can also get our Legal Insider newsletter where we can keep you updated and informed. Boy, we need people praying for our work. And how do you know what to pray for if you're not informed? That's what we do with the Legal Insider, and it's very short. It's just once a week. I think you'll really appreciate it. And also we have something else that's really special here for the month of January, and that is a matching gift program, specifically for those of you out there who become new donors, supporters of PJI, but also for those of you who become regular monthly supporters. Get this. It'll be matched dollar for dollar that you decide to support for Pacific Justice, not just for the first month, but for the first 12 months, for all of this year, 2020. It'll be matched dollar for dollar if you sign up to become a regular monthly supporter. So go to our website, pji.org, P for Pacific, J for Justice, I for Institute.org. And I want to thank all of you who choose to not just sit in the bleachers, but to come on down to the field and play ball with us as we make sure that no pitch ever makes it past the plate at Pacific Justice, and everyone gets help. God bless you, and appreciate your support. Now, looking at 2020, Michael Peffer, first I know as the head of our Southern California office for Pacific Justice Institute, you're busy on your own right. We have other offices, though, that have opened up. We have one in Seattle. We have one in Oregon. We have another one in Reno, another one in Colorado. We have 5 offices here in California. We are very, very busy. And we're very optimistic. While we have 40-plus cases, last I checked, in active litigation right now as we speak. And I'm not surprised, because we handle more cases defending religious freedom, parents' rights, sanctity of human life, particularly on the West Coast, I know, than any other organization. So we've got a lot of cases, but we're also very optimistic, in particular, moving forward in 2020. Tell the folks why we at Pacific Justice are so positive with a major game changer that's taken place just in the last few years.
Yes, one of the things that is downright exciting, actually, for us is that we're finally seeing judges appointed to the bench, and President Trump has appointed something like 185 judges, and as we are following them, we're seeing that they're conservative judges who are originalists. They believe the Constitution says what it says, and it means what it says. And we're very hopeful. We see here on the Ninth Circuit, the notoriously liberal Ninth Circuit, one of the most overturned circuits in our system.
Right. They get a failing grade, less than a 50% success rate for cases that go up on appeal.
That's right.
That's terrible.
It is terrible. And we're seeing there a major shift towards appointed new judges that are conservative. And so we were looking at it, and we're trying to analyze it every day, kind of looking at it. But we're seeing that, indeed, we have a chance for some real change here on the Ninth Circuit.
Yeah, and what's really exciting is to realize that the Ninth Circuit has had more judges appointed percentage-wise change than any other circuit. I think I heard roughly a third are now appointments by the president. And also, we say conservative. I want people to understand, too, because some people, they don't understand it from a legal perspective, but we're talking about judges who are more sensitive to civil rights, actually. That is, a civil rights protected by the Constitution, not civil rights they make up.
That's right.
So when it comes to, like, religious freedom, they're going to be very sensitive and protecting of civil rights. When it comes to parents' rights over their kids, when it comes to the rights of states to protect the unborn, the most vulnerable of all, they're going to be very sensitive to those civil rights that are actually supported by the Constitution and by long-established case law precedent. That, to me, is so exciting because it's a game changer. It really is. I think that, looking at in the past, we've thought, gosh, are we going to have to keep, this case from going any higher, keep this case from going any higher? Now we can say full throttle forward. We at Pacific Justice are probably more aggressive now than ever before because we have more confidence in the federal courts than ever before, as far as I'm concerned, for decades. So yeah. It's a very, very much a positive moving forward.
Yeah, and interestingly, we've won at the Ninth Circuit. Don't get us wrong.
Yes.
We've won at we filed suit and we've appealed to the Ninth Circuit or been appealed by somebody else to the Ninth Circuit, and we've won there. But the bottom line is we tell our clients, this is the Ninth Circuit. You really can't expect very much because it's the Ninth Circuit. But now we can express some hope that, listen, there's new judges at the Ninth Circuit. There's new judges all over the country at the district court level.
Second Circuit, exactly. Just all over the country.
That's right.
And and then even at the federal district court level, the lower court,
that's right.
The federal court judges, those continue to be replaced with absolutely, I think, the best judges that we could imagine, better than Ronald Reagan's appointments, which was interesting because he had to compromise because of the rules that they had back then, and you had to get 60 votes in the Senate, and otherwise it'd be filibustered, yada, yada. We don't have that now, and I'm very positive looking forward on the big scheme of things. Going down a little more micro, let's talk about some of these cases moving forward that we're going to be dealing with in 2020. I know one of them is dealing with a Christian boarding school. I mean, the right for Christian boarding schools to exist, which is what this is about, is on the line. And we at Pacific Justice are defending a Christian boarding school in Northern California. And if we're not successful with this could set a precedent which could allow states, particularly starting with the dark blue states across the country, right. New York, Illinois, Washington, Oregon, et cetera, New Jersey, to really come pounding down against these private, non-government, private Christian boarding schools offering such hope to young kids. California is trying to shut this one down in Northern California. Tell us more.
Yes, they are. And this is one of the things that we see in almost all the dark blue states is overregulation.
Right.
And it's regulation not for the purposes of making sure everything's okay, but it's regulations to make sure that the people we don't like don't get to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And in this case, that's a school. This is a boarding school, successful. The people that go there have appreciated it and are glad it's there. But the state steps in and says, no, we're going to change our regulations so that you can no longer exist. And they come in with the Gestapo techniques. I'm sorry, but that's what it is to me. But they come in, and so we filed suit. We're in the middle of it right now. There's a lot to come here.
Yeah, it's very important. We won in a major battle over a motion for preliminary injunction. The state did not prevail. Praise God for that. So the school is still up and running, but it's still moving to trial, and we need people praying for that case. Yeah. Also, evangelists. We've had a major influx just in the last few years of pastors, ministers being criminally prosecuted for one thing, and that is publicly sharing the gospel, sharing their faith, whether passing out tracts or preaching the word in public places that are protected by the Constitution. And yet we see this attitude of open hatred and hostility, intolerance, breeding up against these ministers across the country. We're in criminal court. I understand about 30% of our litigation budget is now criminal defense, defending these ministers and pastors in the United States of America.
Yes, and I've been fortunate to be here at PGI almost 10 years, and I've seen in the last several years a marked increase in these arrests of ministers and others who want to just be on the sidewalk where the law protects them to be, not in public places that are private and you can't go there. But these are people that are they have every right to be there. And the police come, and it's not enough to tell them to stop or whatever. They've got to shake them down. Yeah. And a lot of times these guys end up arrested.
Yeah, handcuffed, arrested like criminals, and then criminally prosecuted. Right. I had 2 last year in Texas. Yeah. Texas, of all states. You just wouldn't expect that. But San Antonio and El Paso, I had to personally fly out and defend pastors being criminally prosecuted for up to a year behind bars for one thing, for sharing the gospel in a public place. It's crazy. And yet, the good news moving forward is we have those judges now on the Supreme Court all the way on down that we can rely on to defend and protect these people when everything is all said and done moving forward. And so far, we have a very high success rate. I also understand, Michael, that the churches are continuing to be under attack. We've had some major victories. I know in San Rafael, California, they levied a property tax against all the churches, the synagogues. We went into court. We defended them. We got it struck down as a violation of a state constitution. That was very significant. Right. But then we've also had a case in Wisconsin where they had an ordinance requirement compelling churches, with the government telling the churches that they could not fire someone, a minister, because of their sexual relationship that they had, which violated the teachings of the church. That was outrageous. Right. Totally outrageous. We won that. It was a violation of the state constitution, the federal constitution. A number of other communities already started to adopt it when we got involved and got it halted. I don't think we're going to see these things lighten up moving forward, though. I think we're going to see more and more intensity in these cities and these states that really have something against the gospel and really want to oppress it, and people who want to live and share the gospel.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have seen this increase to really scary proportions. It used to be, and in the not too distant past, that the church was hands off. You can't attack these churches by calling the tax something that it isn't. Well, right. we can't tax you directly, so we're going to call it a special assessment or whatever we do in order to bring pressure on the church. And we're not going to stand for that. Yeah. We're going to attack that where it comes up.
Yeah, and I agree. It's we need us to stand up to this, and we're doing it. And the reason we're able to do it, by God's grace, is because of the support of people out there, like the people listening to this broadcast right now, watching this perhaps on television. We're making a difference because moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas out there, and actually a lot of churches, support our work. And it's never taken for granted. We have a matching gift program. Once again, folks, it'll be matched dollar for dollar up to the end of January for all those who become new supporters of PGI, or also those who support us on a monthly basis. Will be matched dollar for dollar for all 12 months. I encourage you, go to our website, pji.org. Also, in addition to supporting our work, also prayerfully support our work by signing up to get our legal insiders so you can keep up with what we're doing. That's what we're about, making sure people get help, making sure that no one is left on the side of the road. And Michael, thank you for being one of our attorneys to make that happen.
My pleasure.
So folks, there you have it. It's our God-given freedoms we're talking about. Now, let's choose to keep them. I'm Brad Dacus, president of the Pacific Justice Institute. Have a great weekend.